Why am I always cautioning youth to be careful about these extremist organizations?
The police have released photographs of 6 youngsters from Kannur who are currently fighting for the ISIS in Syria.
They are brainwashing Muslim youth. If they have reached these people today, then tomorrow they can reach you. Maybe somebody connected to you.
The son of immigrants from India, Mubeen Sheikh grew up and still lives in the Silverthorne neighborhood, about 10 miles from downtown Toronto.
You would stay in the mosque, you would encourage people to come and pray, to listen to your talks, walk around the local area, proselytizing to other Muslims.
I'm cautioning the youth to be careful about bad company, because bad company plays a major role in leading any person towards extremism.
They listened politely, and then he picked up his AK-47. He says, "This is how you change the world."
How can they do all these things? Don't be so surprised. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen, was salatu was salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. Viewers, previously we discussed about the importance of being with the pious people, the Salihin, the awliya of Allah. We also spoke about avoiding bad company. We said that you should avoid the company of anyone who has even the smallest amount of extremist thoughts in his heart, because being in the company of such a person may lead you towards becoming an extremist yourself. So these were the things we discussed previously. Now one may ask that, why am I always speaking on this issue, on the same issue? Why am I always cautioning youth to be careful about these extremist organizations? Why am I speaking about this issue when there are other issues concerning Muslim youth that can be discussed? Well, the reason behind that is this video.
News just coming in. The Kerala police has exposed a big PFI ISIS link. The police have released photographs of 6 youngsters from Kannur who are currently fighting for the ISIS in Syria. They are identified as Abdul Ghayoom, Abdul Manaf, Shabbir, Suhail and his wife Rizwana, Safwan. The police stated that all these youngsters were active PFI members.
With this, I believe that you have understood the seriousness of this issue. These extremist organizations are working really hard to make their plans successful. They are brainwashing Muslim youth. Well, if they are successful in brainwashing one person from any other country of this world, then we should say that the situation is dangerous, because if they have reached that country, then they may reach our country anytime. There's a chance. But if they are successful in brainwashing some people from our country, from India, then we should say that the situation is extremely dangerous. Because if they have reached these people today, then tomorrow they can reach you. Maybe somebody connected to you, your brother, your sister, your family members, your relatives, your cousins, your friends, anyone. They can approach them and brainwash them. So that is why I'm always speaking about this issue. I'm cautioning the youth to be careful about these extremists, to be careful about bad company, because bad company plays a major role in leading any person towards extremism. Bad company plays a major role. Let me tell you the story of a person named Mubeen Sheikh. This person fell into bad company, which led him towards extremism, But by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he changed his mind and repented. We have the story for you. Have a look.
The son of immigrants from India, Mubeen Sheikh grew up and still lives in the Silverthorne neighborhood, about 10 miles from downtown Toronto. But then a seemingly minor event changed everything in his life. He threw a party behind his parents' back and got caught.
And I thought to myself, how can I possibly salvage my reputation? And then it clicked. I have to get religious. Because I could see, looking back in my cultural context, people who were religious were looked upon with respect.
So this man, Mubeen Sheikh, wanted to become religious. Well, that was indeed a good idea. The idea of becoming religious was correct, but the path he chose to execute that idea was wrong. Well, what path did he choose? I think he fell into the company of Tablighi Jamaat people, these Tablighis. He's not mentioning the word Tablighi Jamaat, but the way he is explaining things reveals that this man fell into the company of these Tablighis, the people of Tablighi Jamaat. Have a look.
Mubeen traveled to India and Pakistan. For 6 months, he interacted with Muslims, exploring his faith.
You know, you would stay in the mosque, you would encourage people to come and pray, to listen to your talks, walk around the local area, proselytizing to other Muslims. Telling them, look, the way to succeed in this life and the next life is to follow the commandments of Allah as shown by the way of the Prophet alayhi salam.
That is why I said that this man, Mubeen Sheikh, fell into the company of these Tablighis, the Tablighi Jamaat people. Did you listen to what he's saying in that video? You would stay in a mosque. That's what the Tablighis do. They travel country by country, state by state, city by city, and they stay in mosques. Then he says, Mubeen Sheikh says that you would encourage people to come and pray. This is exactly what they do. Then he says that you would encourage people to listen to your talks. Oh, you have become a scholar right now. Till a couple of months ago, this man, Mubeen Sheikh, was partying with his friends. Now he's become an Islamic scholar, teaching people, delivering lectures. This is what the Tablighi Jamaat does. They'll make you an Islamic scholar within a couple of weeks. And if you're a foreigner, they'll make you an Islamic scholar the next day to attract you. They'll ask you to deliver a lecture in front of a lot of people. And you will stand and deliver a lecture. You will speak about Deen. You will speak about Islam. Then you would feel that I'm something great. I have learned everything. Then you will start teaching people the wrong way because you haven't learned anything yet. It takes time to learn Islamic studies. I'm not speaking about following this religion. Following Islam is easy. But I'm speaking about teaching religion. Teaching Quran. To teach Quran, you should learn Quran the right way. Nowadays, people just take the English translation of Quran or translation of Quran in whatever language they like. They just read it and become Islamic scholars. They take the translation of Sahih al-Bukhari, read 1 or 2 hadiths, that is translation, they do not even know Arabic, and they start teaching Islam. You should teach what you know, but what you don't know, you cannot teach. But this group, the Tablighi Jamaat people, they give this feeling of respect or you're something great. When you join Tablighi Jamaat, they'll ask you to deliver a speech in front of a lot of people. Till yesterday, nobody was listening to you. Now you have a mob in front of you, a lot of people listening to you. So you get this acknowledgement, you get this respect. That's why people go in Tablighi Jamaat. That's why people are attracted to us, Tablighi Jamaat. So this man, Mubeen Sheikh, is also saying that you would encourage people to listen to your talks. Now Mubeen Sheikh has started teaching Islam. Then Mubeen Sheikh continues and says that you'd walk around local areas proselytizing to other Muslims. That is what the people of Tablighi Jamaat do. That's why I said that this man, Mubeen Sheikh, would have fallen into the company of these Tablighis, the people of Tablighi Jamaat. Although he's not mentioning the word Tablighi Jamaat, the things he's explaining are a clear indication to that. Listen to what he says once again.
You would stay in the mosque, you would encourage people to come and pray, to listen to your talks, walk around the local area, proselytizing to other Muslims.
So Mubeen Sheikh wanted to become religious, but he approached the wrong people, and they led him towards the path of extremism. Have a look.
One day, I was walking and I saw some guys from afar, beards, turban. As I started to come close, I realized these guys are armed. And so I gave them my spiel of, this is how you change the world. They listened politely, and then he picked up his AK-47. He says, this is how you change the world. And we're doing that right now.
So this was the result of bad company. Did you see that how bad company led this person, Mubeen Sheikh, towards someone who was holding a weapon and saying that this is how you change the world? Na'udhu billah. Weapons are the cause for turmoil in Allah's land. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like that. Allah says in the Holy Quran, وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَكْبَرُ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. Causing turmoil is worse than killing. Allah says in another verse, وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَسَادِ. Allah doesn't like turmoil. Allah hates turmoil. And don't be so surprised that how can this happen? People who were staying in mosque, calling people towards prayer, following the sunnah, delivering Islamic lectures, how can they lead this person towards someone who is holding a weapon? This happens. This happens. And also don't be surprised when I use the word Tablighi Jamaat, because you may think that they are very nice people, they stay in mosque, they call people towards prayer, they follow the sunnah, they fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can they do all these things? Don't be so surprised. This happens. And by the way, I'm not saying that whoever joins this Tablighi Jamaat becomes an extremist, because I know that there are some innocent people inside this Jamaat who joined it because of their ignorance, who do not even know that all these things are happening somewhere. So I'm not saying that each and every person from this Tablighi Jamaat is led towards extremism. I'm not at all saying that. But what I'm saying is that somehow or the other, a large group from within this Tablighi Jamaat is working with these extremists. A large group from within this Tablighi Jamaat is supporting these extremists either secretly or openly. And that is why before 2 years, I think in 2020, I read in the newspaper, in Times of India, a report which read, the original founders of Harkatul Mujahideen, the terror group known for the hijacking of Indian Airlines Flight 814 in 1999, were members of Tablighi Jamaat as per Pakistani security analysts and Indian investigators. As per intelligence estimates, over 6,000 Tablighis were trained in Harkatul Mujahideen terror camps in Pakistan. It further reads that, as per WikiLeaks documents, some of the 9/11 Al-Qaeda suspects detained by the US in Guantanamo Bay had stayed in the premises of the Tablighi Jamaat in Nizamuddin West, New Delhi several years ago. The link to this news report is in the description. You can read it for yourself. Now, coming back to the story of Mubeen Sheikh. So finally, Mubeen Sheikh was influenced by these people and he got attracted towards them. Then he started recruiting for them.
When Mubeen Sheikh came home in 1995, he was far down the road to extremism.
Further deepening and solidifying and anchoring of my views. I recruit other kids. I'm preaching this jihadi mentality.
For the next 6 years, he devoted himself to the cause and wondered how he might join the fight. He saw friends go to the Middle East. Some did not return. And he had the opportunity to go himself.
Now I was exposed to people who could get me to Yemen. Just say the word, Mubeen, and we'll have you go. And I was on that line, and I could have at any point gone.
And at last, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when Mubeen Sheikh realized that this extremism leads towards nothing but destruction and killing innocent people, he changed his mind. He repented.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Mubeen Sheikh woke up a radicalized extremist. He had not committed any acts of violence.
I was back and forth with even my bad friends. And even from them, there was this awkward silence where somebody says, yeah, but those are innocent people. How do you justify that? And there was this moment where nobody knew what to say. But that was the moment I decided I'm out of this. It's ridiculous.
So Mubeen Sheikh changed his mind. And he once again wanted to become religious, but this time he approached the right person who taught him that these extremists were actually misinterpreting the Quran. They were taking the verses of the Quran out of their context in order to fulfill their agendas.
He met the right imam at the right time. Mubeen Sheikh had what psychologists call a cognitive opening.
I always give this example of chapter 9, verse 5. It says, kill the unbelievers wherever you find them. The Sheikh who taught me said to me, do you normally start from verse 5? Or do you start from verse 1? Let's start from verse 1. And then you get the context. This is about the treaty that we had with the pagans at that time. Oh, so it's a very specific context.
As he learned the context of these critical verses, he saw the Quran in an entirely different light.
So this was the story of Mubeen Sheikh. I don't know him personally, but when I came across his video, I felt like sharing this video with you because this is related to our topic. We are discussing about avoiding bad company. That was our message in our previous video, and that is our message in this video too. But I'll just add a few things to that. Youngsters in Islam, bad company in general, avoid it. All bad company you should avoid. But to be specific, you should avoid being in the company of Wahhabis. Anyone who has Wahhabi ideologies, who follows Wahhabism, you should not be in his company. You should avoid being in his company. Why? Because Wahhabism leads to extremism. How's that? We'll discuss about that later because it's a wider topic. But before we conclude, I'll tell you one thing, that if you do a small research about these extremist organizations, you can easily find out that all these extremist organizations follow Wahhabism. There's an international organization which was started by former world leaders to counter terrorism, which was named as Counter Extremism Project. They have submitted reports about these extremist organizations. If you read those reports, you will find that all these extremist organizations follow Wahhabism. They have this Wahhabi ideology or Salafi ideology. And you can find the word Sunni there, don't get confused, because Sunni in a wider aspect means these people do not belong to the Shia community. They claim that they are non-Shias. That is the meaning there. But what's written after Sunni, that you have to see. It's written that Salafi or Wahhabi. For example, if you read the report about Taliban, you can find that they have this Wahhabi or Salafi ideology. Similarly, if you see what ideology this Al-Qaeda has, you can see that they also have this so-called Wahhabi and Salafi ideology. So that is why we say that Wahhabism leads to extremism. You see all these organizations, they follow only the Wahhabi thought. They have only these Wahhabi and Salafi ideologies. So youngsters in Islam, today's message is that you should avoid bad company in general. All bad company is to be avoided. But specifically, you should avoid being in the company of Wahhabis. Anyone who follows Wahhabism, anyone who has Wahhabi ideologies or Salafi ideologies, you should avoid his company. Because Wahhabism leads to extremism. How's that? We'll speak about that in detail in our upcoming videos. And as we say every time, you should be in the company of pious people, the awliya of Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us the right path. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.